When my daughter-in-law's sister Sarah told me, "Don't worry, Margaret, I've got this covered. I've been in the wedding business for 15 years." I trusted her with our $85,000 wedding budget. 3 months later, when no vendors showed up on the wedding day, I revealed her true identity to everyone. If you're watching this, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what city you're watching from in the comments. This story didn't start with that phone call. It actually began 6 months ago when I first met my son Michael's fiancée, Jessica. I'm Margaret Thompson, 52 years old, living in Chicago. I'm a certified accountant, and my husband Robert is a retired police detective. Our only son Michael is 28, a successful software engineer. When I first met Jessica, I was thrilled. She was polite, educated, and beautiful. She worked as an elementary school teacher and had a close relationship with her family. She and Michael had been together for 2 years and decided to get married. Mum, Jessica's sister Sarah is an experienced wedding planner, Michael told me over dinner one evening. She's going to give us a special family discount. How much of a discount? I asked. She normally charges $120,000 for her full-service wedding planning, but she'll do it for us for $85,000. Family pricing, she said. A $35,000 discount sounded incredibly appealing. Wedding costs were skyrocketing, and every dollar saved meant more for their future together. When I first met Sarah, I was genuinely impressed. She was about 35, impeccably dressed, and exuded confidence. She constantly showed wedding photos on her phone, each more stunning than the last. "I coordinated this wedding last month," she said, showing me photos of an elegant ballroom setup. 300 guests, $200,000 budget. The couple was absolutely thrilled with every detail. Her portfolio was truly impressive. The floral arrangements, table settings, lighting, everything looked professionally executed and magazine-worthy. "I've been in this business for 15 years," Sarah said with obvious pride. "I have exclusive contracts with 5 different premier venues in Chicago. Florists, photographers, musicians. I have special partnership arrangements with all the best vendors in the city." Michael and Jessica were completely sold. "Sarah really knows her stuff," Jessica beamed. "She's organized weddings for several of our college friends, and they all turned out absolutely perfect." When we signed the contract, Sarah provided what seemed like a comprehensive breakdown: venue rental, floral arrangements, photographer, live band, catering menu. Every detail was meticulously itemized and professionally presented. "We'll need half the payment up front to secure all the vendors, and the remaining half 1 week before the wedding," she explained. "That's standard industry practice." I paid $42,500 without hesitation. I received what appeared to be an official receipt. We had our signed contract, and everything seemed completely legitimate and professional. My first red flag came 2 months later. While shopping for Jessica's wedding dress, she casually mentioned something that made my stomach drop. "Sarah hasn't told us which venue she actually booked yet," Jessica said, almost as an afterthought. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep the alarm out of my voice. "We paid 2 months ago, and the venue still isn't confirmed?" "Sarah says she's negotiating with multiple locations to get us an even better deal. She wants to surprise us with something amazing." This seemed odd, but Sarah was supposedly experienced, and everyone trusted her completely. In the 3rd month, while having coffee with Jessica's mother, Linda, things started getting genuinely concerning. "This is honestly the first time I'm hearing that Sarah does wedding planning," Linda said, looking genuinely puzzled. "She's never mentioned being in that industry before." "What do you mean?" "She told us she's been a professional organizer for 15 years. No, Margaret. Sarah has worked as a loan officer at First National Bank for the past 10 years. She's never done any kind of event planning that I know of. My blood ran cold. Are you absolutely certain about this? Of course I'm certain. She's my daughter. Wouldn't I know what she does for a living? That night, I called Michael immediately. Son, I need to ask you something important. Is Sarah actually a professional wedding planner? Mom, of course she is. Why would you even question that? Jessica's mother says otherwise. She says Sarah works at a bank. Mum, please don't start creating problems where none exist. Sarah has been nothing but professional, and everyone's been happy with her work so far. But serious doubts had already taken root. That night, I had a long conversation with my husband, Robert. Robert, there's something very strange about this whole Sarah situation. What kind of strange? Her own mother says she's not a wedding planner. As a former police officer, could you look into this professionally? The next day, Robert called one of his former colleagues in investigations. Margaret, I had someone run a basic background check on someone named Sarah Collins. She definitely works at a bank and has no registered wedding planning business. I felt like I couldn't breathe. So, she's running some kind of scam? I can't say definitively, but she's certainly not operating as a legitimate wedding planner. I immediately started my own online investigation. I reverse searched the wedding photos Sarah had shown us on Google Images. What I discovered was shocking. Most of them were stolen directly from established wedding planners' websites and Pinterest boards. None of those beautiful luxury weddings in her portfolio had been coordinated by Sarah. She had systematically copied professional photos from various internet sources and was presenting them as her own work. Now, in full panic mode, I called Michael again. Son, Sarah is a complete fraud. She stole all those wedding photos from other planners' websites. Mum, stop. You need to calm down. Making accusations like that could be considered slander. Son, we've paid $42,500. If she's running a scam, we're going to lose everything. Let me call Sarah directly and ask her to clarify the situation. When Michael confronted Sarah about my concerns, her response was disturbingly dismissive. Michael, your mother seems to be getting a bit paranoid about normal business practices. I'm a seasoned professional. She really shouldn't worry. The wedding is going to be absolutely perfect. This response made me even more suspicious. If she were a legitimate wedding planner, she would have immediately provided business credentials and documentation to address our concerns. The next day, I contacted my lawyer friend, Stephen Miller. Stephen, I strongly suspect we're dealing with fraud. What should I do legally? Margaret, bring me every document and contract you have. Let's examine everything carefully. When Stephen reviewed our contract, his expression grew increasingly concerned. This contract is extremely unprofessional. There's no official business letterhead, no tax identification number, and the business address listed is completely vague. What are my options? First, demand official invoices and complete business documentation from Sarah. If she can't provide legitimate paperwork, we'll need to consider filing fraud charges immediately. That evening, I called Sarah directly. Sarah, I need an official invoice for our contract and your business tax ID and registered address. Margaret, I'm a small independent business owner. I didn't think a formal invoice was necessary since I provided you with a receipt. Sarah, for this amount of money, I absolutely need official documentation. Okay, I'll have my accountant prepare everything tomorrow. The next day, Sarah called with another excuse. Margaret, my accountant is unavailable today. I'll handle all the paperwork early next week. A full week passed with no documentation. I called again. Sarah, where are the official documents? Margaret, please be patient. Government bureaucracy takes time to process everything. Now I was 100% certain we were dealing with a criminal. Following Robert's advice, we hired a private investigator named Kevin Martinez. He conducted a thorough background investigation on Sarah Collins. 3 days later, the results were devastating. Sarah had never operated any wedding planning business. She had indeed worked as a loan officer, but had been terminated 2 years ago due to serious financial irregularities and debt problems. Even worse, our investigator discovered she had victimized other families using identical schemes. A family in Detroit had lost $60,000. Another family in Milwaukee had lost $75,000, and there were potentially more victims. Kevin explained, Sarah is a sophisticated con artist. She identifies vulnerable targets, builds trust through family connections, takes substantial deposits, and then disappears before delivery dates. Now it was time to take decisive action. I developed a careful plan. I would contact Sarah saying we were ready to pay the remaining $42,500 since there was only 1 week left before the wedding. I'd arrange a meeting where we could catch her with police assistance. But first, I had to convince Michael and Jessica with all our evidence. Look at everything we've discovered, I told them, laying out documents, printouts, and investigation reports. Sarah was never a wedding planner. She's a career criminal who's going to take our money and disappear. Jessica broke down, crying. How could this be happening? Would my own sister really do this to me? Michael was furious. If this is all true, I want Sarah prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. First, we need to catch her in the act, Robert said. Here's our plan. Margaret will call Sarah saying she's ready with the final payment. She'll arrange a meeting. I'll coordinate with my former police colleagues. The next morning, I made the call. Sarah, there's exactly 1 week left until the wedding. I'm ready to pay the remaining $42,500. When can we meet to finalize everything? Sarah sounded genuinely excited. Margaret, that's perfect timing. Let's meet tomorrow afternoon downtown. We can complete the final payment and go over last-minute details. How about 2 p.m. in front of Millennium Park? Our strategy was simple. I would meet Sarah pretending to hand over the money. Robert and plainclothes police officers would be positioned nearby. The moment Sarah accepted what she believed was payment, they would make the arrest. The meeting day arrived, and my heart was pounding as I waited for Sarah near the park entrance. Sarah arrived precisely on time, dressed expensively and smiling confidently. Margaret, you must be so excited. The wedding is going to be absolutely spectacular. Yes, Sarah, I'm incredibly excited. I have your payment right here. I pulled out an envelope from my purse. Inside wasn't actual money, but newspaper cut to size, though Sarah couldn't see the contents. Perfect, Margaret. Everything will be absolutely flawless, I guarantee it. The moment Sarah took the envelope, Robert and 2 plainclothes officers approached from different directions. Sarah Collins, you're under arrest for fraud and grand theft. Sarah's face went completely pale. What fraud? I'm just coordinating a wedding. What wedding? One officer replied. You're not a licensed wedding planner. You haven't booked any venues or vendors. Sarah tried to run, but the officers had strategically surrounded the area. This is some kind of conspiracy, she screamed desperately. I'm a legitimate wedding planner. Then produce your business license and vendor contracts, I said calmly. I've been requesting documentation for months, and you've provided nothing. Sarah began breaking down completely. Okay. Yes, I'm not technically a wedding planner, but I was genuinely planning to coordinate your wedding somehow. How exactly? You have no vendor relationships, no venue bookings, and no legitimate business. I. I thought I could figure it out as we went along. Police arrested Sarah immediately. In her purse, they discovered not only our $42,500, but money taken from other families totaling approximately $175,000. That evening, Jessica came to our house in tears. Margaret, I'm so incredibly sorry. I had no idea my sister was capable of something like this. Jessica, you're not responsible for Sarah's criminal choices. She deceived all of us. But what about our wedding? There's only 1 week left, and nothing has been arranged. Don't worry, we're going to make this work. The next day, I activated an emergency plan involving our entire extended network. My neighbor, Susan's son-in-law, was a professional photographer. He agreed to handle the pictures. Our family hairdresser, Nancy, also did event floral arrangements and volunteered her services. Michael's work colleague was an experienced DJ who offered to provide music. For the venue, we secured the community centre's beautiful banquet hall on short notice. For catering, we arranged with several local restaurants to provide an elegant buffet. In exactly 1 week, with help from dozens of friends and family members, we coordinated a beautiful wedding. The total cost was $55,000, saving us $30,000 from our original budget. On the wedding day, Jessica was radiant and genuinely happy. Margaret, this wedding is so much more meaningful than anything Sarah would have created. Because this wedding was made with love and community, not just money. Sarah's trial lasted 4 months. The judge sentenced her to 3 years in prison and ordered her to pay $275,000 in restitution to all victims. We recovered our entire investment. During sentencing, when given the opportunity to speak, Sarah said, "I only did it because I needed money quickly. I never intended to cause real harm to anyone." The judge responded, "You stole people's most precious celebrations. Even when money is returned, the emotional trauma and stress you caused cannot be undone." After this experience, our family bonds became much stronger. Michael and Jessica now discuss all major decisions with us. "Mum, in any future situation like this, I'll trust your instincts completely," Michael said. "Son, sometimes experience and wisdom are more valuable than youthful enthusiasm." What this story taught me is crucial. Never blindly trust people just because they speak confidently and appear professional. Always verify credentials, demand official documentation, and trust your instincts. We also learned how powerful family support can be during crises. When everyone works together, even seemingly impossible challenges can be overcome. Con artists like Sarah specifically target trusting people, elderly individuals, and those making emotional decisions under time pressure. If you encounter similar situations, especially involving large sums of money, always investigate thoroughly. Demand official business documentation. If someone gives evasive answers or makes excuses, be immediately suspicious. And remember, the most beautiful celebrations are created with love and community support, not just expensive vendors. Our wedding proved this perfectly. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share your own experiences in the comments. By learning from each other's stories, we can protect ourselves and our families from these types of criminals.